Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar hosted by UP42 titled Order and Manage Earth Observation Imagery with UP42. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Navneet. I'm a product marketing manager here at UP42. We are so excited to have you here today. Before we get started, I wanted to give a couple of pointers on how to use this webinar tool. On your right, you would see the chat window where you can let us know if you're facing any technical difficulties, if you're not hearing us properly, or if you just want to interact with all the rest of the attendees that we have this evening. Please, to get started off, let us know where you're joining us from today. Right next to the chat window, you see the questions tab. So through the course of this webinar, if you have any question, feel free to drop the question in the questions tab. And at the end of this webinar, we'll have a live Q&A session where we're going to see the most upvoted questions, and Alex and Jorge are going to answer them. We have two really exciting speakers today who come with a lot of years of experience in the geospatial industry. Jorge Fernandez, our VP of Product, is going to kick things off by giving a deep dive into the key industry pain points that we've tried to solve here at UP42. Then we jump into a brief intro to what UP42 is all about, the approach that we have taken to solve these problems, and finally, how exactly can you get started with our platform. And in the second half, we have Alex Bishop, who is my colleague from the sales team, who's going to give you an insightful platform demo on how to use our product. UP42 is also a developer platform where you can use our APIs and SDKs to order imagery. So Alex is also going to briefly go into that towards the second half of his session. So now it's my turn to invite Jorge to the stage.
Thank you, Nav. And yeah, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. We have people from everywhere. So I would love to show you and talk a little bit about how to shortcut and bypass the geospatial challenges that exist in the platform. I think for us, it's really important to set up the stage. I think when we come to product, we like to talk about pains, and once you understand the pain, it's really easy to find the solution to it. And here, it really shows how the industry data process looks like, right? Customers need to set up contractual agreements and technical implementations with every provider that they might be interested on. Here's just a subset of providers. And as you can see, they need to have, the contractual agreements. Then you need to integrate with the API and the interface. And then your teams, your data analytics teams will need to learn all of the data formats and the delivery mechanisms. Now, when it comes to operating at scale, we know that a lot of customers have the need to order multiple providers for different projects with different requirements. And this is how the process looks like once you bring UP42 in the mix. It looks rather similar for the customer. They have a contractual agreement, but now they do have that with us. They have a compliance process they need to go through, but now they have only one. And then all of the API interfaces, data formats, delivery mechanisms are the same, regardless of whether they are ordering data from Satellogic, Airbus, Vexel, Hexagon. It will all look exactly the same. And also very important is that we have the ability to make things better for you. We have the ability to manage the data. We have the ability to transform the data into standards. We have value-added services. We have processing capabilities. So what we really, really want is so that our customers focus on their customers' problems, not on the geospatial industry problems. And you might wonder, well, what is UP42 and where do they sit in all of this? Well, we are a neutral, open platform, and we sort of enable both suppliers and users. To the left side, we have data and analytics providers, which we work with. And to the right side, we have the customers who work on the specific problems using UP42 as the interface. What is also very important to mention is that we focus on the, again, generic industry challenges so that our users focus on the vertical specific needs. And on this slide, it shows a little bit how, we are, let's say, horizontal. We work as well with companies working on infrastructure monitoring, as well as some of them working on agriculture or insurance, etc. And then it's those customers who will be then working on specific sub-verticals, on specific regions, and really providing the added value to the customer. That's really, really important for us to explain. And then we move on into, when we talk about UP42 as a developer platform, I think it's good to also understand how does this platform actually looks like. So we have a set of interfaces. We have console, which is the graphical user interface that people can click and visualize maps, etc. But then we have the more developer-specific interfaces like the API, the SDK, and we actually have other interfaces through ArcGIS where you interact with our platform through ArcGIS Pro. Then you follow, there is the platform services, because in this industry, for those that have been in it for a while, compliance, account management, payment services, it's really important both for the customers as well as for the suppliers. So we have this level of platform services that make sure that both suppliers and customers operate safely and at scale. Then very, very important is we have these data management services, which take the data that arrives into UP42 and standardize it into the same format so that customers can interact with it in the same way. And probably the part that most of you are familiar with is our data services. Our data services are split in the services that interact with archive data, data that already exists, data that people have already acquired, that are sitting on the cloud, as well as data that is to be acquired, for which our customers task a satellite and then manage the order through the journey. And also, very, very important is the processing services. So we have a processing engine that allows our customers to generate insights out of that data. And all of that is connected under this, let's say, very compact architecture picture of the platform that we always like to start so that it is clear what UP42 is and what it isn't. Now, we'll let you enjoy the demo that Alex is prepared. But some question that we get very often is like, okay, where to start? Look, obviously you can sign up to the platform and start exploring it that way. That's one path. But there is also the ability to, browse our open marketplace, enjoy our documentation, and also contact sales. Sales at UP42 also play a much bigger role. They also navigate you, they explain, and they try to connect the dots of your projects, your customer requirements, and our platform. Now it's going to be the interesting part of the platform, of the webinar. But before we go into that, we have this question that we'd love to know a little bit more about who is with us today. So we will set a poll that you can see on the side. What is your biggest challenge while working with Earth's observation data? And in the meantime, while you answer, Alex has joined us and he will take you through the demo, and I may come back at the end about
Nice.
something else.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jorge. Okay, so I'll give you guys a few more seconds to answer the poll. But in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. So hi, everyone. My name is Alex Bishop. I'm a pre-sales engineer at UP42. My role at UP42 is to kind of guide customers and connect customers with our different services. And like Jorge said, line you up with the different products we have and help everyone discover the platform as best they can. Today, we have a good agenda. We're going to cover quite a bit of ground. We have the dashboard that we're going to look at, which is more from a account management type of features. We're going to look at the catalog to run archive searches and discover data, the tasking capabilities of the platform, the data management, which used to be storage. There's a lot of cool new things happening there, which is why it's changed names. And in the end, a quick look over the API and the SDK. So some great things. Let me pull up my screen and I'll share now. As perhaps some of you know, when you sign into your account at UP42, you'll land here on the dashboard page. And this page actually hides a ton of really helpful and important information. You do have this UP42 at a glance, which gives you the links to the core functionalities, catalog, tasking, data management. But we also have added the ability for customers to discover sample data on their own. So whereas before you might have needed to send an email, we provide access to sample data, which is quite nice. We still have this nice recent orders table, which shows you kind of the ongoing processes under your account. And at the bottom, the great links to our fantastic technical support team. Documentation is really good these days. So please go have a look there to discover our capabilities. Notification up here on the top right, Landsat is now available since a couple hours. So that's really awesome. Questions, more links here. This workspace tab up here is an important one. This is where now you can, for the administrators, account admins out there, you can invite members into your account. So essentially, this would be adding a workspace. So a colleague of yours will have access to the platform so they can discover data, perhaps place orders, and so forth. You can also remove accounts, remove workspaces. So now you have the freedom to kind of manage things on your own, which is really a nice add that we didn't have even a year ago. Access requests, another big one. By default, you don't get access to everything on UP42. You do have to request access to some of the collections. This is where you can do that, right? Same thing with the end user license agreements. It's important to have a look at these. You do have to approve them in order to kind of make it through some of the stages of the platform. And again, with both the access request and the EULAs, you only have to do it once. You don't have to go through it every time you want to order data. Last but not least, the credits management tab. This is pretty awesome from a project management point of view, where you can kind of keep track of expenses, transaction histories, credit allocations. You can export these even by date range, which is nice. And of course, you can purchase credits. We used to only have predefined sums, but now you can customize the value to whatever you want, which is really good and adapts to the scale of your projects quite nicely. So that's for the more account management type things, but those are important. Now for the more fun stuff, how do we find data? Well, we have the catalogs tab here. The catalog presents itself with a nice web map type interface. Everything starts with the geometry, not only at UP42, right, but from, in remote sensing in general. Geometries define so much of the capabilities that can follow. There's a few ways you can kind of like bring in geometries into UP42. Of course, you can type in an address up here in the search bar, and, here, why not Paris, France? It'll draw a bounding box around the location. If you're trying to do a high level, query of what's available somewhere, a colleague gave you coordinates, or maybe, you just have coordinates from a customer and says, hey, go look what's over here. You can provide Latin long coordinates and it'll draw this nice bounding geometry. But really the best way is to upload your own geometry, right? You probably have a GIS team, or you received a geometry from a customer. And the proper way, or the best thing for you, would be to bring that into UP42. So you can do that in the form of GeoJSONs or KML files. And now we've added the ability to also save these geometries to the platform. So if you upload a geom, you don't have to redo it every time. You can add a name and save the geometry to geometries library, which is now available here too. And you can see all of them here. So this is a really nice feature. It's an evolving feature. There's going to be a lot more functionalities here in the future, but a cool one nonetheless. So we can go back to that small one I had at the beginning. Now for discovering data, what's going on here on the platform is that the platform is actually running a high level kind of search over all the different products while we brought in this geometry. And the products that are available are now listed here on the left. So if you navigate somewhere more remote, perhaps in this area around Washington, D.C. in the United States, you might see fewer products available here on the left. So that's a nice feature just for seeing available products. If you see something or if you don't see something you might have expected, that's the reason why. It's just there's actually probably no data over that specific geometry. But as you can see here, we have a nice extensive list of products. For instance, if we want to discover a bit more about what's available in the Pleiad, we can dive into that specific collection and now, see the coverage, perhaps plot this low resolution preview of the data set. We have access to some of the metadata, and we can select, a processing level, add that to the cart and whatnot. Processing levels are other aspects of the platform that we're improving, and we want to provide more access to different levels of processing. So not only are we integrating more and more data sets from different providers, we also want to bring more processing levels to customers. And that's something that you can expect to see, more additions in the future. And with that said, if there's actually processing levels that you guys think are important and want us to prioritize, feel free to reach out and we'll see what we can do about that. Also, you can of course filter by cloud cover, by date ranges, and you can easily change collections here, by toggling over these filters here. I did want to mention, you can add one product, but say on this area, we also want some VXEL aerial because it's super, super high resolution, or maybe some radar data. You can add these also to your cart, and they will be, within that same order, which is quite nice and convenient. So you can build these data sets and add them to your order. The idea being that UP42 provides access not just to a couple sensors, but to so many, and within the scopes of projects, a lot of times you want to be able to leverage different products, an elevation product, a higher resolution product for specific areas, maybe a low resolution product over overarching area, and UP42 really provides the ability to do that through its platform. Once an order is placed, you would simply go through the checkout step and purchase the data sets. You can track your orders here by navigating to the My Orders tab. This provides nice visibility through this table of like the statuses of the different orders. You can also kind of quickly toggle over to all the workspaces under the accounts. So UP42 has this nice capability or ability to allow you to work with colleagues quite nicely. You can retrieve data from their storage accounts or their data management accounts and so forth. You can also click on these to discover the parameters that were chosen. You have access to the order ID that's up here, which is convenient, and also a link to where the data is actually delivered, which is into your data management. Before we dive into the data management though, I do want to mention tasking, because it kind of goes, of course, hand in hand with the catalog, where you might do this deep dive into the catalog to discover available archive. But if you have big geometries, chances are you might not get full coverage, and that's fine, and that's normal a lot of times. So what you can do though with UP42 is then extract those areas to then push them towards tasking and acquire data over those areas as needed. Typically, and up until today, the tasking interface looks like this, where we also have a nice web map. We have our collections here on the left that you would then fill out the order, the dynamic form. Of course, you need a geometry. This is changing in the next few weeks. And so with Jorge, we wanted to use this opportunity to actually show you through and give you a sneak peek of the new tasking flow, because it's really nice and it solves some of the big challenges that customers were having, which were having visibility into the cost of things. A lot of times we were seeing that customers might place tasking orders and request feasibility studies simply to get to a point where they could have an idea how much a tasking order might cost. And so we wanted to bring that further up in the process, in the flow. And this new version of the tasking sequence provides that. So here you have now all the collections listed from highest resolution to lowest. And you can select different ones. So you can select, say, Aero C, Pleiad Neo, maybe Condsat, maybe, let's see, maybe Spot down here. And you can push these, all of them, to the next stage, which is providing a geometry. Of course, the tasking platform can handle multiple polygons at the same time. Excuse me. And again, the core idea here is that we're providing visibility into the cost of things at this stage. So you can toggle on a specific collection and you'll get this nice price estimate at the bottom. So you can kind of browse through these different sensors and see, okay, this fits within my budget, or hey, this is super cheap. Let's just get the highest resolution data possible. It allows you to get that basic understanding and visibility into the cost, and allows you to determine, okay, we might need to compromise on resolution, or we might need to compromise on the AOI and redefine our geometry that we're going to use. Say we want to move forward with spots, we can choose one of the data products. Of course, web demo. We can add an order name. You could provide a description. This is specifically helpful if you, say, wanted to skip a feasibility study and you wanted to start tasking as soon as possible. You could let us know here. You can, of course, add the date ranges. Say we'll just put a couple of weeks, acquisition mode, mono, 10% cloud cover. So this sequence looks the same as before. And the great tags, which is a fantastic addition. The tags are really helpful from a project or data management point of view, where this tag will live with the data sets that are acquired under this order through the life cycle of the acquisition process. So from this stage all the way into the delivery, these tags will live with the data, and they can be modified later on. You can add more. There's probably a limit to how many tags can be added. We'll have to get that info. I don't quite remember. I'm sure it's quite high. But yeah, really good feature. Now again, we review the order. This is another great improvement that the tasking team has come up with, where you have this nice global view of everything, where you have the collection information, you have your geometries here, you have the order configuration again, which is nice to always kind of like look over and make sure you have the right ones, and some tips, which is really helpful to have. For instance, this average waiting time, 1 to 3 days for a feasibility study. With tasking, it's good for everyone to understand not limitations, but just the expectations of things and timeframes of things. So it's nice to have a bit of information there. Again, we have the order request summary, and if you had not accepted the EULAs, you would be prompted to do so here. You could submit this order, and as that little info said, you're not being charged at this point. The request is being pushed for our ops team to build a feasibility study and get back to you with that. So the flow kind of feels nice, and it's a bit more elegant than our previous version. With that said, I will go back though to this portion of the tasking flow, where this might look familiar to many of you. Once the order is placed, you'll see it in these different statuses. Feasibility study is made available. You'll be notified, and you'll be prompted to choose options. And for instance, if a price is uploaded, the final price quotation, this is where you'll review that, see it, and once you choose pay and activate the order, this is when you are actually charged credits for your tasking order, and that sensors will start acquiring data for you. Order ID up here also, always very helpful to have. And of course, you can just browse through all your orders, and also through the workspaces, different accounts and workspaces. With that said, that data sets will be delivered here into your captured images and linked to your data management. This is a really, really exciting, there's a lot of things going on here with data management, where before it was just storage. So we would deliver folders, a zip file with different directories in them, dependent on whatever format the data provider would provide. And we would just kind of like dump that in the storage account, and you guys would have to download it and make sense of it, maybe build adapters to ingest those different formats. What we've done is, because our goal, whether it's from discovering data, ordering data, is to simplify access to data or simplify visibility into available catalog data and across providers, right? We also want to do that and extend that into your ability to use that data. So, we see value in that. For many projects to scale, you might not only be able to use one data provider. You might have to expand and use other ones that you're not so familiar with. And what UP42 does now through the data management is that we provide a standardized format that we call CNAM, Cloud Native Asset Model, that is essentially a stack catalog. So we're mapping all the data, all the metadata into a similar fashion, right? A standardized format. Where raster deliverables are converted to cloud-optimized geotiffs, where vector-based deliverables are converted to GeoJSONs, and so forth. What this allows us to do is it allows us to make available, for instance, features like this nice web map for your storage account, of course, because we can extract the coverage files, the coverage information of all the assets. But it also allows customers to then quickly search for data sets in their storage accounts by scene creation or acquisition dates, by order ID. If you're doing a massive tasking operation, order IDs can be convenient for that, by tags, by product configurations and whatnot. And this is what, having this cloud native asset model, again, which is built on Stack, allows us to do. It also allows us to expose, this really nice cool feature as you browse over them, the database on the left kind of navigates, which is really awesome and elegant. But what CNAM also allows us to do is expose a lot of the metadata that would have been inside those deliverables before. So previously, you would have had to download a deliverable to, know, okay, where is this one located? What sensor was it and whatnot, what cloud coverage and all that stuff, where now it's all made available here for you. So it also provides you the ability to simply download the files that you need, perhaps just the geotiff, perhaps just the coverage masks, for instance, the cloud masks, or if you really wanted to, you could download the entire deliverable as it was before. From a high level, that's kind of what our new data management component allows you to do. These can be streamed, of course, and you can use code to expand on these components. You can also preview the low resolution preview, and I didn't show you in the next scene list here. You can show the multispectral data after it loads. With that said, the last thing I want to mention here in data management is, of course, you can update titles, which is really convenient now because these are just the deliverable titles and the tags can be managed here. Say you are ingesting these data sets into your own processing pipelines, you can tag those as they go so that you know, okay, this data set was processed for this project, and you can kind of like have that, visibility and backup on UP42 of what might have been processed on your side. And that you would do using code, right? Like, so this is another great capability of the platform is that we are an API first, system. We are most feature rich in the API and the SDK, and using code makes sense in maybe not all the cases, but in many of them, especially if we're trying to run complicated archive searches and we want to build, big coverages of like what's available. We want to try to build full coverage over this long linear corridor, for instance. You can do that. You can plot low resolution previews also in the SDK. And of course, you can export the metadata from an archive search, share this with colleagues, and just communicate around them, which is really nice. Credit estimation component, ordering, the storage. This is what the CNAM and the Stack system looks like in code. You have all the keys and values here. And of course, the links in the Stack assets links to all the information and data sets. Okay, I probably went over time. I'm going to pass it back to Jorge, and happy to answer any questions later on. Jorge,
thank you, Alex. Thank you. Much appreciated. I was so excited answering questions that at some point I forgot to mention something that happened not too long ago that we were quite proud is that, we talk about scale, we talk about developers, but it is always very abstract until you really see it. And just to give you a sense of the scale at which we operate at peak times is that we had like something like 18 orders in a day, right? And that's something that the platform just handled. The customer got a mix of different collections, all delivered, all standardized, and it was rather beautiful. The fact that also nobody was screaming when that was happening was also pretty incredible. So we were very proud of that, and really shows the scale at which we want to operate, and we believe that we have a lot of more bandwidth to do more. Just to keep it short, something that we also wanted to share with you is, we talked about ordering data, we talked about managing data, but we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of what else is coming. And as you know, UP42 works a lot with analytics, and we have a very wealthy portfolio of analytics partners. And all of this work that we've done on data management was not just for the added value that we were already giving to our existing customers, but it was really meant to power our next generation analytics platform. The fact that everything that arrives to the platform We know the format, which is going to be Synum with cloud optimized GeoTIFFs. We know exactly the structure of the folder. We know the metadata and how it's going to be organized across providers: Sentinel-2, Landsat, Pleiades, Neo, Vexel, Oblique. All of it is going to be standardized to the same format, with the reason also to power an analytics platform that will only need to look at one format, and that will be able to power multiple pipelines using that standard metadata and format that we know now we can ensure across all of the providers. So something that is really, really exciting is that there is a new analytics platform that is coming. And the most beautiful thing is that it starts where your data is. So once you are on your data management, you look at the map, you'll have the ability to select scenes and process data on top of it. To begin with, we are focusing on ARD capabilities, things like pan sharpening, co-registration. That's the priority. We will continue to move with selected third-party analytic partners that we have, that we also want to bring into the ecosystem, and we'll continue also through Q1, making sure that we match one-to-one what we were offering on the previous platform. Again, very exciting is that this interface where you will also select processing parameters, you will get credit estimations, or you will get confirmations, and a lot more that we also want to build on top of this foundation is coming. I don't love showing mockups, but it's really something that we are expecting you to have also before the end of the year, at least a taste of these capabilities that we are really, really excited. So yeah, I think with this, we'll come into the Q&A session, where I believe our host Nav will help us get as many of your questions answered.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jorge and Alex. It was pretty insightful, as you can see from the conversations that we've been having. Oh, we have quite a few questions actually. Let's see what we should go with first. Jorge, do we have to order the complete scene, or will it be clipped to our AOI?
That's a good question. I answered briefly on the chat. The answer is no. When it comes to archive data, you will only pay for the AOI that you order. We will just deliver you also the specific AOI that you order. There's only one exception, and that is Sentinel-2, where it is an open provider, and we do give you the full scene that intersects with the AOI. For tasking, it's a little bit different. So for tasking, there is different providers have different rules. More popular ones have a minimum of you will pay for 100 square kilometers. You can order a minimum 25 square kilometers, but you will still pay for 100 square kilometers. There is a link to the documentation as well, where you can see all of the different restrictions for the different providers that we shared as well on the chat.
Thanks for that.
Nav, just to add to that too, Black Sky is by scene, and radar data is by scene also, so it's slightly different. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. You're right. There's other providers that you pay by the scene. That's correct.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all in the documentation.
There was another question from Andrew, which Alex, you briefly answered, but do you want to go into that further? Is it possible to add tags to catalog orders before they are delivered to storage? I believe it is possible to.
Yeah, using the API. I added a link to the API reference. Have a look there. You can add tags to catalog orders using the API.
But also, just one comment, we were checking also with the team in parallel. We will have also the tags available on the console UI. It's not there yet, but it's part of the continuous improvement that we are bringing to the platform.
This one's an interesting question. I think we've received this in the past webinars also, about how we talk a lot about developers, which is awesome, but what are some of the other user profiles that we focus on? Jorge, do you want to take that one?
Sure. I'm sure Alex can complement a lot, right? I mean, we do see that a lot of our customers are developers, right? That they interact with our SDK and they place tons of orders. But throughout that journey, there is a lot of other people that interact with our platform. I would say a profile that is definitely very close to our heart are the procurement managers, right? So people on teams that are, tasked with, all right, we have this project. How can we get this specific type of product on this specific timeline at this specific price, right? and we work very close with those customers as well. Alex, I'm sure you have a few other examples as well.
Yeah, sometimes it'll depend on the maturity of a project, where it depends if you're in a discovery phase of capabilities of the platform, how does it line up? If you guys are trying to go for a bid yourselves, sometimes we might not interact with the most technical people on your side, more like project managers and stuff, which is great for us too. Like, we're always happy to work with anyone. And then as things kind of move along, we're more than happy to have those technical sessions, an hour or so, whatnot, to really kind of dive into specific capabilities and help engineers on your side, whether you want to do an API integration, whether you have geospatial Python engineers who want to just write code to like easily connect and find data. We can handle all of that. There's really no issues. So I would say we can work with everyone, and it depends on what stage you're in some of your projects. Yeah. Oh, there was a question about CNAM that I wanted to address though, Nav. I was just writing the answer. I'll put a link to the documentation that kind of gives an introduction to Stack. CNAM means Cloud Native Asset Model, which is the format that we have, that we provide, which is our standardized format for data sets, and it's built on Stack, so it's Stack compatible. Well, that's on in the documentation, so I'll add the link there.
Yeah, this one from Jacob. Are there plans to be able to work with not only raster data, but also point clouds, example from LiDAR campaigns?
No, that's a great one, Jacob. The answer is yes. So UP42 is a geospatial platform, which means that we not only serve raster satellite based, we also offer elevation data from airplanes, and it's also just a matter of time until we get our hands into some later point clouds that we will also be able to serve through the platform. Right now, one of our biggest challenges, honestly, is the amount of integrations that we have. Also, the integrations that we need to maintain. We've built the platform to be very generic and be able to handle all of those. But it sometimes takes a little bit of time until those new integrations, which we have signed partners that have non-raster data available, will come into the platform. It's work in progress. UP42 is a living platform, let's say.
This one's pretty related with what we are building now. Can you customize pre-processing and share details during delivery?
Can you customize pre-processing and share data? So there was a screenshot where when we show some of the pan sharpening capabilities, you will be able to also customize some of those inputs, and that should be also part of the metadata of the job that you will collect at the end. So I will say yes. The answer is yes.
Awesome. And I think there's one more question about sample data. Is it possible to provide some sample data for each provider that can be used with API SDK for implementing and testing integration pipelines?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we do offer sample data that you can get familiar with when it comes to the actual asset that you will have, that your team will have. When it comes to testing the integration and the data pipelines, we have Sentinel-2, which is free. So effectively, all you'll need to do is choose the product ID for Sentinel-2. But in the future, once you have commercial credits, you will then switch that order data ID, or sorry, product ID, but anything else on the integration pipeline will look exactly the same. If you do talk to the sales team, though, they might give you some extra credits to get familiar with the platform, and also possibly order some credits. So that's also possible.
Jorge, there's an interesting question about our S3 integration. Do you have plans to enable AOI geometry uploads from S3.shape files? And will the order or tasking on the platform be the same via the S3 add-in that we have?
That's a great question. Really like it. So we do have an add-in built in ArcGIS Pro that allows customers to search over our catalog, place orders directly through ArcGIS, and once the data is delivered, pull the data inside of the ArcGIS Pro. We foresee the need to have also this geometry service that we've built be able to pull data the other way from ArcGIS into UP42, or even use an AOI that already exists in ArcGIS to place an order. That would be something that we already support. And the ambition is to also build more capabilities. We definitely want to give the S3 community the ability to order geospatial data inside of the environments where they are familiar with, and then pulling them into their own ecosystems. For us, it's really like the SDK on Python is our S3 add-in, which we have a lot of more functionality that we'll love to bring in the future as well. So also stay tuned.
Yeah, and for anybody who wants to find out more information, I've linked the landing page that we have that talks a bit more into the S3 add-in capabilities that UP42 offers. Usually we stop at this point, but you guys have been fantastic. The engagement that we get, that we've seen is awesome. I think there's one from Bruno, Jorge, or Alex. You mentioned you're working with analytics ready data, which is great. Can you elaborate a bit, and can you confirm that these ARD could be from multiple providers?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So the ARD capabilities that we are making available come obviously from existing providers that have the knowledge of building this type of algorithms. We also expect to be able to work with multiple providers that offer these capabilities, as well as the ability to, on specific projects, introduce some custom ARD capabilities for a given project. But yeah, we just maybe to make it full circle, we do not develop our own ARD capabilities. We work with partners that have that knowledge, and we make it available through our platform.
And Jorge, just there, the idea is that it will work with any data that customers can get access to through the platform, right?
That's right. That's the beauty of Synum, that once it gets into Synum, then the rest of the algorithm and analytics that we can build on top will work relatively the same. Of course, if you want to run some specific detection on a band that does not exist for the asset that you order, that will not work. But for anything else that makes sense, it will work.
I think that's it so far. And of course, if you have any other questions, please feel free to check out up42.com. Drop us a line at sales@up42.com. You can expect a mail from us pretty soon, having an entire video recording of this webinar, and also a PDF of this entire presentation, which Jorge and Alex went through. Thank you so much, first of all, Jorge and Alex. I think it was pretty insightful for our audience, seeing the level of engagement that we saw. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us. We're going to have more of these webinars pretty soon, and also next year. So feel free to watch the space for more events coming up from UP42. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.